Hello everybody, this is Kay. Thank you for joining me here on my channel today, Gigi's Paper Treasures. I have a flip through video for you of this gorgeous kind of lavender purple themed journal that I just completed. This is actually an altered thrift store journal. I found the blank journal at a thrift store. I believe I paid $2 or $3 for it. And I have altered it and made it into a journal and it just turned out absolutely gorgeous. This is kind of a little outside the box for me because I tend to stick to kind of neutral colors a lot of the time, but I really wanted to kind of challenge myself to be colorful with this one. And it already had a purple front and back. Actually, the back is black front cover, so that just inspired me to kind of live outside the box a little and do a colorful journal. So I'm just going to show you the cover. There was already a circular cutout in the cover, so I have used that with a piece of acetate to make kind of a window. And in the window I have, a digital and some paper flowers, and I don't know if it's showing through the window, but I've added a little sparkle in there with a glitter pen, and then I surrounded it with another cutout digital. On the bottom of the front cover here, I've just included a lot of different paper and applique and lacy kind of fabric-y flowers, as well as a digital label there. I've got a little bit of cheesecloth here, some buttons, brads. I just really had a great time making this journal. And I've got a ribbon closure here. This is just some kind of organza purple ribbon. I have it secured on the back cover with a digital image because I didn't want it to just, fall loose and fall to the ground and get dirty. So I've done that. And I should also say that I have used digitals throughout this journal from the Digital Collage Club and also a couple of other Etsy shops that I purchased a couple of digital items from because I needed a little bit more kind of purpley ephemera pieces than I had in my stash or had available to me. And I've used some scrapbook papers that I had on hand, and I've used some inking of some lavender ink, as well as I used vintage photo ink. This was really a full blank journal, and before I get started with the flip through, I just wanted to say that I have left plenty of blank pages between the various pocket pages that I've made in this journal. I've left about 5 pages of blank paper for journaling on. So I'm going to get started with the flip through, and hopefully I won't take too long. On the inside of the front cover, I've made one of these kind of gatefold pieces with a pocket inside where I embellished with a digital cheesecloth. This is some napkin in the background, and in this pocket I have included a journal card, and this is one of my crocheted doilies that I made with another one of those purple buttons in the middle. This page, I just wanted to kind of make a label page for whoever ends up with this journal to personalize it. And then this first pocket I have made into kind of a angled slant pocket, and used the digitals and some more flowers, and I added some texture with some threads here. And this is simply a tab that I put on the top of this page with a little ribbon and brad embellishment. And this tag is pretty simple, but I've added kind of a charm and some ribbon onto the top of this. I also wanted to say one of the things I did differently throughout this journal is I used silver embellishments instead of gold, which is what I tend to use most of the time. So that's the first kind of pocket page. And like I said, between each of the pages I made into a special type of pocket. I left 5 blank pages. So this is really, if you're a purple loving writing journaler, you will love this journal. It really is gorgeous, and there's plenty of writing space still. Okay, this page I made into a single kind of side pocket here with some embellishments. And in this pocket I have another simple journal card with a fussy cut there. And then I've included in this also some papers that I dyed with some Easter egg food coloring dye, and this is one of those papers. This is some children's music paper that I found a pack of somewhere at some point in time. I've got another one of those tabs of my scrapbook paper on the side here with a dragonfly charm attached to it. A few more blank pages. On this, now this is a little different. This is a bottom pocket here that I've tucked a journaling card into, but it's also a pocket here. So I have a pocket here, and then this is a pocket which I have a journaling spot attached to. This is one of the digitals I had, and I printed it on some coffee dyed paper to give it a real kind of grungy look. But what this piece does by slipping down in here but coming up out of the top is it holds this top part closed. So this part of this page is movable, and it's a side pocket that I've added another card to and a little blitzy charm there. And then I also added more writing space from the digitals on the fronts of these pockets. So I'm going to go back when I'm done and put everything back in order so I don't take the time to do that now. And I'm going to skip through the blank pages because you don't need to see those. This is a kind of a triangular side pocket, and I took one of the digitals and adhered it on here so it looks like this, like it's kind of one piece, but then here's the pocket. So I divided that digital right at where the pocket edge is there, and I've tucked in a journaling spot here. And this is one of those kind of faux letters where it's actually a full sheet of paper, and I just made like a little belt to put around it here. But you can open this up and it's a full sheet of 8.5 by 11 embossed and dyed. This is one of my dyed papers here as well. And I just dressed it on the outside a little bit with some of my vintage photo. So I got this idea from Natasha at Treasure Books. I'm going to go back and fix that later. Okay. This is a skinny page. I created this by just folding it over and turning it into a top pocket where I have a tall journaling card, or it can be removed and used as a bookmark, tucked into that pocket. And I put a simple sticker on the bottom, and I did some stenciling on the front of this pocket. This is a multi-layered side pocket, and I did some decoupage with some napkin on the fronts of these two. And this is a decoupage napkin on the pocket itself with a piece of writing journaling craft paper folded and tucked into that one. And then I took more of that napkin and made a journaling card with that. That's tucked into this one, and another piece of the craft writing paper, which I was able to leave it whole and not fold it, so the whole thing could slide into that pocket. Okay, on this set, this is kind of a double page spread, and I took these two pages and cut them at you know, at a triangle, cutting them like that, and then folded them over to make these two kind of skinny tucks, which I have little journaling spots and tags tucked into here. This opens up into a larger journaling spot, as does this one. And then I also, at first I was just going to leave them loose, but then I decided I glued them down in here so that these would also back here become tuck spots. So I hope that makes sense how I put those two pages together. And then these just slide down into these little triangular slots. And you've got this for writing space and this back here for writing space. So this journal, even though I have heavily embellished it, there is tons of writing space still. Okay, on this page, what I did was I cut it horizontally here to make 3 side kind of free-flowing pockets here. And each one of these has a pocket on the front as well, with a couple tags tucked in to each one of these. And you've also got the big pocket on the side here, which I have tags tucked into. And these are kind of double layer tags. I took a piece of my tracing paper and printed some digital on it, and then put it on top of these tags, which this was collaged with some of my scraps on the background. So that's what's in those 3 pockets. I'm gonna leave those out for now and put them back in later. And then those 3 just flip individually like that. Okay, this is kind of a double pocket here, so they're slanted this way and this way, but you've got a front pocket here with a little digital tucked in there, and then this back pocket, which is kind of a full larger pocket. I made an envelope, and I took another piece of my printed on tracing paper and put it over some music paper. I love the look of that. I think that is so pretty. And I sewed it and made it into an envelope, of which I have a few more things tucked into. This was a digital I had, and I turned it into kind of a tri-fold writing spot with some rub-on transfers and little journaling spots pasted on the inside of that. And another one of my little tabs here with a bow and a brad. So that's that page. Okay, this page is a triangle, another angled pocket, but I angled both the front and the back instead of, you know, just the front and gluing it to the back. And on here I have, this is a paper clip. I'm not going to call it a hidden paper clip because you can actually see it in the back, but it doesn't come off. It's adhered. And this flips up, and it's got a little pocket in the front here and a side pocket on this part. This idea came from the gal at Pink Strawberry Z. I thought that was really clever, and I've got just little tags tucked into that side pocket there and this front pocket. And the paper clip, it's one of those, it's a giant one kind of. And I just have it put over this digital, which is another lovely digital that I printed on some coffee dyed paper. I just love that swan. So gorgeous. And that just clips on there, and it'll go back in the pocket. Okay, this is a side pocket. Again, I think I did one of these earlier in the book. But what I've got slipped into this one is another little notepad that I made out of my dyed papers. And I've just sewed it with the 3-hole pamphlet stitch, but I added beads to the spine of this and beads and charms on here as well to embellish that. And I thought that would look really nice if I just kind of left it sticking out the side like this to add to the to add to the charm of all the charms. And this is another one of my tabs, and up here I just attached some fibers just to give more texture. This doesn't come off or anything. It's just on here for embellishment. Okay. And this page is another kind of narrow pocket, but I made it into two. And I put tuck spots on the front as well. You can see I did some stenciling. I had a little piece of a digital left, so I made a little tuck spot up there. Same thing down here with a tuck spot. And then also you've got a pocket, a top loading pocket. Uh-oh. Yeah, there we go. And these are just some simple craft paper that I added one of those little round eyelet type embellishments elements to the top. And I kind of spaced them just right because I have these notches kind of off-centered. I did that on purpose. So I wanted to put my little round, I don't know what to call those, round embellishment, I guess. So they would kind of line up with the notches. So that's that page. And more blank. And I think, yep, we're back to the last page in the journal. Now this was only a single page I had left, so I kind of reinforced it with a piece of cardstock on the background, just because it was very flimsy, and I had some heavy stuff in here, and it needed to be a little sturdier. So I took another piece of my digital and made a side tuck here, and I've got one of these little folding pocket pieces made. This was a piece of some typewritten paper that I sent through the printer and printed on. And it's a pocket over here with a couple of little items, and a pocket here with a couple of little items. And then the front is another little piece of ephemera and some cheesecloth, and that's tucked into there. And in this big pocket, I've got this piece, which I put a paper clip on it just to kind of keep these flaps down. So this is made out of one piece of scrapbook paper, and it opens up like that, and you have a pocket here that I've added a digital to. And on the other side, you also have a pocket, which I've added another digital to. A beautiful peacock. I just love that. And it also opens in the middle here. I saw another YouTuber do this recently, and my mind is drawn a blank as to her name, but I will try to find that and put it in the description box. But in that middle pocket, I've got tucked a number of goodies. This was another one of the digitals that I just turned into kind of a multi-fold journaling spot, and a few of the other pieces from one of those digital kits that I purchased. I'll put that all back together. And that was the last page on the, oh, and I forgot to show you on the top here, I also added a little bulb pin with some beads on it. And finally, on the inside of the back cover, I took several of my scraps that I had left over and my digitals, and I just kind of collaged them onto some cardstock I used Mod Podge and made this kind of curved back pocket for the inside of the back cover. And I made a couple more tags to pop in there out of some of my tag bases that I did, with my leftover strips. I added stickers and labels and little butterfly stamps to those tags. And this is kind of a really stiff pocket, so I didn't want to try to cram anything real bulky in there. And last but not least, I've tucked a little purple pen. This is just kind of a fine tip, felt tip marker in this little pencil slot, which was already there when I bought this journal, to go with this journal. I forgot to mention also that what I did with each one of these pocket pages was I glued 2 pieces of the journal page together to make the back of the pockets sturdier. I forgot to mention that earlier, so I just wanted to, but even with doing that, there's still like plenty of writing space in this journal. It had a lot of pages in it to begin with. You can see how bulky it is. One of the things I really love about this journal is looking at it from this side and seeing all these dangles and ribbons. It's really a gorgeous, gorgeous journal. And I'm really glad that I kind of stepped outside my comfort zone and tried doing something with some more color like this. So I am going to be putting this journal in my Etsy shop. So I will put the link to my shop below if you're interested in going and taking a look at that. I'm also going to be bringing it with me to my first craft fair of the season this next weekend. Unless, of course, it sells on my Etsy shop first. So thank you so much for joining me today. And I'm sorry that this flip through has been a bit longer, but this is quite an elaborate journal, so it just took a little bit longer to go through than a lot of my other flip throughs. But I thank you for joining me, and I hope you have a blessed day.